6:33.
Yes.
Me
Can we
too.
do roll call, please?
Sure. Mr. Vogt,
Here.
Mr. Jallo,
Yeah.
Mr. Tewari,
Yeah.
and Chairman Galtieri.
Good evening. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The fun thing. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 231, New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the giving of notice to the Courier News, posting the agenda in the public lobby of this building 48 hours prior to this meeting, delivery of this notice to the Franklin Township Clerk at least 48 hours prior to this meeting, and mailing notice to those persons properly requesting to be mailed notification of meetings at least 48 hours prior to this meeting. All right. Is there a motion to open the meeting for public comments?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of opening the meeting for public comments, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Seeing no public here, is there a motion to close the meeting for public comments?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay. All those in favor of closing the meeting for public comments, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Approval of the meeting minutes from the working session of July 2nd, 2019, and executive session July 2nd, 2019. Everybody get a chance to look at the meeting minutes from the last meeting? And I believe you have the executive session in front of you also. So, any questions, concerns, changes, amendments? Everybody good? Good, Mr. Troy?
Yes.
Mr. Cal, are you okay with them? All right. Is there a motion to? We should do this separately, correct?
Separately.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the working session meeting minutes from July 2nd, 2019?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mr. Jallo,
Yes.
Mr. Tewari,
Yes.
and Chairman Galtieri.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve the executive session meeting minutes from July 2nd, 2019?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mr. Jallo,
Yes.
Mr. Tewari,
Yes.
and Chairman Galtieri.
Yes. All right. Professional reports.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming, commissioners. Appreciate it. So, I'm going to try to go through this. All right, starting again with the executive summary report. First page, we talked about legal, really no issues and no concerns at this point. Yep. So for Marcy Street, where the color is green for that project, we started the NJI Bank funding process. As I reported last month, we're in a holding until we get it approved, and we continue to estimate the authorized to advertise to be March of 2020. So no significant change at all from the last project. Foxwood Drive Rehab, that's green. We're in the closeout part with NJDP, and we had the meeting with them, the closeout meeting with DEP, and there was no issues there. So it's just a matter of wrapping up the paperwork, the technical closing out documents from DEP, and then we're going to be done with that, right? We're just waiting on that for that. Hamilton Street pump station. So as you recall from the last one, that award was made. We met with the contractor. We actually had the pre-con meeting earlier in July, and that meeting went well. We had Township here, we had the police, we had DEP, we had the contractor, so CME naturally. So everything there, that meeting went very well. The construction we hope to start in, I think Joe, we were talking about the week of the 19th,
Yes.
right? The week of the 19th,
Subject to contracts. and
right.
bonds.
And we have the 4 contracts, in fact, I have it here.
Okay.
Right, so that was one of the things. We verified I can sign this, and it's just gotta be witnessed, so I don't know if it has to be witnessed by, Eric, if it has to be witnessed by one of the commissioners, or like April and the commissioner, or it doesn't really matter who, okay. So then we'll, at the end is maybe between April and you, witness the documents, I'll sign them, and then we're there, and then we should be able to start in and about the week of the 19th.
Thick book.
Yes. So that, again, that all went well. We expect a 14-month construction period. Yeah, let me go to the problem child. So Somerset Street, the pump station. So I indicated to you the last time that I'm a little frustrated dealing with the contractor. It just kind of was moving slow. And we had a nice face-to-face meeting here, Scott and Howard were with them. I basically laid out the fact that, you know, we were unhappy with the slowness and the lack of movement, certainly through June and into July. So we came up with a new schedule. We have a new baseline schedule, and Howard just confirmed today that we hope to have the pump station, the tie-in from Brookline, by the end of this week, ideally Thursday. So that would mean we'd actually have flow in the pump station. And then it's just, so it's the flow on Brookline, and then the flow from some of the Somerset Street manhole. And that would follow a couple of days later. Yeah, a couple of days to a week later. And then we would have the flow into it, and technically that would probably be considered substantial completion. There's still a number of items on what Scott would, you know, what we would call a punch list that has to get done, including the grading. If you went out there, the grading of the landscaping needs to be redone because we're getting too much water on the driveway in the heavy rain. Howard's presented a plan to call, and we're waiting for comment on
I
that.
presented the concept to him, I have to get him a more detailed
Okay.
drawing.
So,
But he
but,
seemed amenable to it.
yeah, the main point is if ideally we believe that we will have flow in that pump station by the 23rd, completely done.
So, Scott, no concerns about the generator sitting or the pump sitting?
No,
or
all the
anything?
equipment's been started up, and I had them pull all the equipment up out of the water, so it's not sitting, just sitting.
Okay.
So, to wrap that up, again, I have it listed as yellow only because dealing with Ralph and Grade has been an interesting interesting relationship.
Sorry, all the inspections are done also? Are we pending any inspections? Like, are there any pending
I
inspections?
believe they got final on plumbing,
Okay,
and electric as well. So
okay,
we're good.
I don't think there's any.
cool.
All right, East Millstone Concepts, so I received the design document from Howard, and we're now in the process of reaching out and working with the township to understand the permit processing. We just want to verify, because where it is, we're a little close to the canal. On the initial feedback from Bob, he thought it was okay, but he sent it off to Vince, and Howard is just trying to hook up with Vince to arrange his schedule so that they can go over that.
Okay.
But at this point, based upon the initial feedback we received, we don't have concerns, but we do want to validate
Yeah,
the initial feedback.
it's like, it's a fine line there,
Right.
so,
Okay.
okay.
All right, so the major project, as it was last
Hey,
month.
Brian, one question. I know
Sure.
when you took me on my tour out there, there's a lot of water that runs over there from the firehouse. Did we take into account
Yes.
maybe? Okay, perfect.
That's especially problematic in the winter. So
Okay.
we're gonna put that under and drain it.
Okay. All right. So when are we looking to see potential costs then? About what the estimated cost is and everything next? Probably
For
next meeting.
East Millstone?
Yeah.
You think next?
You have the estimate.
Right, yes.
The design report.
Yeah, actually, I
That's good for planning
right.
purposes.
That was 1.2, right? Yeah, I thought I shared that already. With you all.
It was in your budget.
Right. It's in my budget,
Okay.
and it was at one. I think actually it was 1.250
Okay.
that I put in the budget. And that was a little on the high side. We went a tad high to cover the, right. All right, so the major project that we've been dealing with since June 7th is the Weston Canal Emergency Force Main. So that work, fundamentally, that work is complete. The cutover, Scott and the team completed the cutover from the bypass to the 16-inch force main last Thursday evening, about 5 o'clock. All right. And since then, they're wrapping up work. Today, they were wrapping up the bypass in breaking it down, washing it, rinsing it, vacuuming it. All that has to be done so that we can return that to general pumping services?
Pumping services.
Yeah, pumping services. So you have to return it clean. You get the pipes from them, you have to return it clean. So overall, this project has been, overall, this project is, you can't consider anything but a success. I mean, the emergency we dealt with, the challenges we faced in pulling together the timeline that we had to work under, the DEP's constraints and their regulations, working with the town, with the police officers, with multiple vendors, the Lucas Construction Group, MTech, Pumping Services, obviously CME, and National Water Main, and coordinating all of that had to be done and queued up in time. And the cutover, for any of you with a software background, when you cut over applications, it's months of planning that you have to do that. You know, Scott and his team didn't really have all that time, and they had to work through that. You know, personally, the credit and the success for that goes to Scott, as in the job that he did as the operations manager. Scott not only coordinated with all the vendors and working with the partners, as you know, obviously Joe and the team came out, the engineering, Lucas came out, but Scott was the one who was figuring out what needed to be done at what time, and then working it and then getting the feedback from CME, working with Lucas and matching everything up. So I can personally tell you this would not have gone as smooth as it did without Scott's personal involvement in this. So it's really important that you will recognize this job and the amount of work that Scott did on this to make this a rather painless transition. Now granted, if you were commuting and you had to deal with that traffic on Weston Canal for the week and a half that we had the Jersey barrier up, right, it was somewhat painful, but it could have been a lot worse because it was concise, that period. We worked it out such that when that plan was put together, it was put together to be the most efficient plan such that it would only have impact on the local traffic for a set period of time. And again, I'm very grateful to, you know, CME, to Lucas Construction Group was tremendous. They came out, you know, that on that June 7th, after that break on a Saturday, as I reported, you know, Joe was out there with us, you know, Saturday afternoon underneath 287 trying to figure out what needed to be done. And then our relationships with National Water and Scott's with General Pumping Services, that all that played into overall success here. Additionally, our feedback that we received from the DEP was very good. They were always very happy with how proactive we were in the communications with them during the time frame. You know, a number of that communications came from me, but at the other level, much of it came from Scott in dealing with his level. So they always understood where we were, when we had to revise a plan because of the fact that, something got delayed, they were informed. So, DEP, MCUA were very happy about the progress that and the communication that we had. And just, my background, in telecommunications, in large-scale projects, communication is always key. When you're working with your partners, having them understand where you are, the potential problems you see, and working the relationships is what makes a successful project. And that was carried out by Scott and his team. Scott had a number of guys there that, when he couldn't be there, he was able to hand off, and they understood what they all had to do. So, again, my thanks to Scott and his team.
So Scott, good job. I know I was included on email. I know you were communicating even with DOT over the weekend to try to get stuff in place. So appreciate the going above and beyond to make sure that everything was set up. And I know even I was talking to the mayor of South Boundbrook, who said there was minimal disruptions because one of the better plans was once we got past the initial emergency, then because of all the communication and everything, that it was much easier to plan. So, so to the commissioners, there was a lot of work that was done for this. So good job, and thank you for the.
We couldn't have done it without our maintenance staff in the back. The authority did a lot of hands-on on this project as a whole.
And that's, Scott sees that. He'll talk to me about ways that he feels that when we can save money. There was money that could have been paid to a vendor to do some vacuuming and to do some, jet vacuuming and all that. And we took it on because it was just, when we had the trucks and the capability to do it, we did it. Now moving on. So, I think when I was here last month, I upped the estimate from 500 grand to 750. Well, we've exceeded that 750. Where tonight you'll see a number of vouchers. We're probably right now our cost is a little over 838 grand.
I saw one for 222.
Yep, 222, that's the labor, I believe, for Lucas. We have one in there for 390,000 for the liner. Police work is in there, and then we have some other ones that are in there. We have probably about another 100 to 150 of outstanding costs that will come in when we start rolling all this up. So we're just going to be, if we're not at a million, we're going to be a tad under. So when I come into the next meeting, I'll explain to you, how the money will be moved. Fortunately, because the authority is financially sound, we have surplus. We are able to handle this without substantial impact to the current year capital planning. I do have to make an amendment at some point, but we will have the ability to do that.
Brian, I got a question.
Sure.
On the last bullet here, you were saying, you told DEP that the cured-in-place pipe, the CIPP, will be on July 15th. Has that been told? Has that been achieved?
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry.
On the last bullet, you're saying, I provided the schedule to DEP indicating we will start a CIPP.
That was our
So is that the
meeting
minutes from last
Oh,
month?
That was last month's
Commissioner?
meeting
Oh,
minutes.
I'm
Yeah.
looking at the wrong one.
Yeah.
Okay, so that has been done though?
Yes, so all the milestones I provided and told them that we were done. We met, or I gave them an updated. Before I went on vacation,
Yes.
the week of the 16th, I updated them on that Friday to say that we had a shift because of a delay in getting some of the material. So I provided them an update in writing, and he acknowledged the Northern Region Chair or Director. He acknowledged that he understood that we weren't starting and it was going to be shifted. But so I'd have to go back and look at my notes if that particular date held. But I think that was one of the ones I shifted.
Yeah,
But at this point, they've been informed that we're off the bypass, and they've also been informed that they asked for samples to be performed because of the water companies basically made a request to the DEP to say, listen, just in case something goes wrong, when it's on the bypass, we want to understand what we have to look for and sample. So because of that, we had to do our sampling and provide that to them, so that was all done. So any request, any and all requests from the DEP were met on their timeline.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so at this point, as I just explained, we're gonna be a tad under $1 million. And at the next month, I'll have how that cost will break down, but, we'll remove the money. But the largest, the invoices that you're gonna approve, some of the largest ones, is that 222,000, is one for 390,000. And then there's a number of the traffic control, which probably totals close to $25,000. There's multiple of them, because all that work couldn't be done by Franklin. They had to call out to some surrounding towns. All right, so that's it on the active construction projects. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to address them if I went through. Naturally, all the schedules and detailed project schedules are also in your packet. But as you know, I give a color based upon the upcoming dates. So now at this point, as I indicated last month, our IT vendor, Network Leg, Joe Danielson is here, and he's going to give us an update on where we are with the IT plan relative to the information in your packet.
Good evening, Commissioners. So we've taken a big step forward since last month. We had designed and ordered and received the new server. It's in my shop right now, be ready to deliver tomorrow. We do staging, pre-staging in my office, and then it'll be brought on site and placed. But I want to make the final coordination with April, because it's relative to some other work that might be going on. But it's a super redundant, fast server that'll be able to host everything. Once that's in place and I migrate the current servers that are virtualized from the old hardware onto this, we'd be able to literally shut off the rental server and the old Hewlett-Packard server and take them out, alleviate some heat and electricity. I've also started to create a tenant service that'll begin filtering your emails coming inbound and outbound. It's not set up yet, but the tenancy has been created. That's been recently authorized by the office. So once that's all complete, at some point you'll see in your mailbox, you'll see a what they call a digest email. Everything that's been blocked, you're going to see it listed and have the ability to release it if you feel it should not have been blocked. However, if the system does believe it's a virus, you will not be able to release that. Let me just repeat that. If the system thinks it's a virus, you will not be able, you may see it in the list, but you will not be able to release it. So also authorized was the purchase of 4 new workstations and monitors for the staff that are well overdue. And we'll be getting additional monitors for those workstations so they can be more comfortable at their desks and more productive. We had tentatively scheduled a meeting this week with a data management and GIS firm that I suspect could be a very good fit vendor for the authority. I ran into some conflicts, so we're going to have to reschedule their demo and their presentation. But that's actually high on our priority scale because I believe the authority will greatly benefit if there is an appropriate fit. The last item that we're working on is reworking the patch panel in the storage room so we can mount our equipment and still have access to the security box So I'm not sure if you scheduled that work yet.
It is
With
tentatively
Renaissance Security?
scheduled for the week of August 19th.
Okay.
They were ordering the cabinetry for it.
Okay,
And we
good.
should be on schedule for the week of the 19th.
That's it. We'll take some big steps. A couple of these things have to be delicately coordinated, but I don't expect any bumps in the road. Biggest noticeable difference will be everybody's email with the filtering service, because it will take a little time to get used to what's typically, there's a learning process for the service, what the spam, what should you be receiving, what not, and they'll learn by what you release. And that's it. I'll communicate the best I can as the service is deployed.
Thank you, Joe.
Ask you a question?
Yeah.
What happens if they get an email that they think is spam?
There's a process you can report it as spam.
Okay, so, Mr. Chair, I'm going to move on to the Executive Director's Report, dated Executive Director's Report, August 2019. So, again, we have the financial reports, the revenue report. We're still early in the fiscal year. So our revenue versus budget report. We have the expenditures and appropriations. Nothing really, so I shouldn't say nothing really out of whack, but there are a few things just because of the timing, like the disability payments that was made, so it's not a straight line. It's done quarterly. Same thing with some of our trustee fees. We're significantly over in the New Brunswick charges at this point, again, because of the fact that they underbilled us last year, and that bill came in, and I was not aware of that when I was looking at the payments. So we're going to end up with an extra payment, and that's why we're going to be over on New Brunswick charges. So that's about it there. And the cash balance is on the back page. Again, you can see that, we're stable. And fortunately, we will be able to absorb this unexpected charge for Western Connect. So some of the discussion items. So tonight at the table, I have our summer intern, Andre. Wave to everybody, Andre, you're on television. You're on the camera. So Andre started with us June 10th. Again, you've heard my view on how critical I think it is important to having interns and young college interns come into the field. So Andre has been working daily with Christian. They're working on a pump station capacity analysis report for me, which is due in the next day or two, draft, and that's on schedule. I took a look at the draft this morning. But I did want to turn it over to Andre to kind of talk a little his view of his experience that he's having, because I think it's important that all of us sitting around the table be able to hear that from someone who's just kind of joined the authority, was in school, really didn't have any experience prior to, and I think it is always helpful for us to be able to listen and hear views of new people coming in, because sometimes when we sit in this chair for a long time, we think we know everything, and it's easy to do that. It's an easy trap to fall into, but that's why it's always helpful to have someone new. So Andre, as I said, just kind of,
Oh yeah, of course.
Feel free to talk about the project you work on, some of the things some of the aspects you're learning, and then kind of what surprised you about what it is that you didn't expect that you would learn working at an authority.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Brian for giving me the opportunity of interning here at the authority. I really appreciate that. Overall, I want to say it's been a great experience. I've learned a whole lot working alongside Christian as well as doing the capacity analysis that Brian mentioned. It's been going good. Like he said, the draft is due, I believe, on Wednesday, which is tomorrow, and it's been going good. I feel like this internship has provided a little bit of everything. I say this because I've attended the TRC, every Tuesday. I've seen what Christian does here in the office, and at the same time, I've gotten the chance to go out to the field and experience what Scott, CME, everybody gets to do out there with everything that's been happening. Just something that surprised me, I would say, it's the pre-construction process. I didn't know like everything that was involved with the paperwork, but whether it's specs, plans, permits, engineering reports. I knew there was a process, but I didn't know it was all of that. And just overall, I think everyone's been very helpful, and I include April in that, Scott. Everybody's been very knowledgeable, and I'm just really thankful.
Thank you, Andre. You know, he really has come along. Like when we were involved in Western Canal, the force main work, and I wanted Christian out there as the staff engineer. I was like, yeah, bring Andre along, because some of the items he talked about here, the whole permit processing and how government and the regulation, I didn't have a clue that worked until I was elected as a councilman in in my 40s. So to gain that knowledge and get a sense of it, in your 20s is great, because it really does help you to understand the complexities of, when you have to do that type of job on Western Canal and all the moving parts. Like people can get upset about, the traffic, the this, or it's moved slow, but there's a lot of moving parts working in this industry. So I thank you for that, for sharing your thoughts on that. I appreciate that.
So are you saying elected officials are a pain and hold things back, or?
What was that?
Be careful now.
So certain ones are, no doubt. Okay. All right.
Present company excluded, right? For
I need more time to think about it. All right. So, Andres, I think when's your last day? The 15th?
The 16th.
The 16th. Okay. So they'll be wrapping up. I'll be working on the report to wrap that up, and then he heads off to back to your senior year, right?
Yes, I finished in the summer.
And are you in
NJIT.
NJIT? Right.
good luck. Enjoy senior year, because the real world starts right after
Oh,
that,
I'm
right?
sure.
Yes, it does.
This was the intro to that.
Yes.
But good luck.
Thank you very much.
We're also in the process of going through the interview for a sewer maintenance staff position under Scott. As you know, we lost one of our staff meetings earlier in the year. We transferred, so we're interviewing to fill that spot, and we hope to have someone ready to start in early September. All right, so the next item I want to talk a little about is a topic from the past that hasn't totally gone away, Rodney Avenue. So I met with Joe and Mike and April. In reviewing the amount of costs, we were trying to reconcile the loan amounts that we had and our costs. And it started with, it goes back to April when she was the acting, trying to, realizing that they had to submit the costs, the authority's costs, which wasn't done previously, and all that catch-up work had to be done. So that was done, and then we did an analysis of that cost and realized that there was additional costs, some that was incurred by the authority that wasn't reimbursed because it wasn't submitted under the loan. And then in further discussions with Mike and Joe, there were additional costs that they had that they never actually even submitted to the authority. So I yelled at Mike for that. I said, Mike, because let me actually prove that. Mike said, like, hey, we knew that you were overrunning on this project, and we kind of just held the course. We didn't want to submit them all, and I told him that was very nice of him, but professionally, like, if you did work, the authority has a response. We need to be a good partner and make good on on what we owe for the work that you did. So Mike and Joe worked on all that, so that's what I yelled at, and not that it was submitted, but I want to be clear that I appreciate what he did. Seeing me, you know, they're a very important partner to us and has been to the authority for quite a while. And I appreciate that offer on their part, but I also think it's more important that the authority pay for the work that we ask our professionals to do, because as they know, and as Joe and Howard knows, you know, when I give work to the professionals, I expect quality work, and I lean on them and I let them know when I'm unhappy about the quality I'm getting or the timeliness of it. Having said that, that's one side of me. The other side of me is, no, we need to do our fair share. So why Mike is here, he's going to talk to you a little about how we want to tee this up and the path that we see moving forward, but we wanted to present that out to the board first prior to taking further steps in this area.
Thank you, Ron. And thank you for the time tonight. I'll be as brief as I can because you do have a rather long agenda. First, I think that you should know we've been assisting your director with the refund for the loan program. I think Brian it's about $1.7 million to be able to get reimbursed through your program already. And that's money that had been spent by the authority and you were able to now turn it into the iBank. And what's happened is you've reached the limit of your loans at this point. And there's still additional costs that you've incurred for the project that have not been turned into the loan program. So what we've done is, with Brian's directions, to go to his trust and ask them whether or not, what the process would be. And essentially what the process is, that you would ask and request what's called a supplemental loan. What that does, it allows you to increase the loan amount that you took originally, which was somewhere in the area of $16 million, and then the state would cover that under their program. Benefits being is, again, you have the low interest rate that they provide, and I believe that the rates hopefully will follow the underlying loan program. We've also been working with, in what we call, in a large project like Rodney Avenue, it's called the commissioning phase. The project that has been completed, as you know, we paid the final contract. But these last few months, or I should say several months, are done and kept an eye on things to see how the pumps are operating. And I know there's been some issues. We've contacted the contractor, the bulk of them have been done. But the project is still in what we call this commissioning phase. And we've been working with your operations manager and the contractor to get those things going and keep things running there. So far, we understand it's operating satisfactorily. So the question now is, where do we go from here? And essentially what the DEP has directed is that we need to submit with bond counsel essentially an amended loan or a request for a supplemental loan. And that basically would cover the additional costs that the authorities incurred plus our costs, and then roll it into the loan program. And that's essentially why I'm here to answer any questions that we have, and basically to indicate that if you're okay with the concept, that hopefully by your next meeting we'll have the necessary paperwork for you to adopt, and so that they can start the ball rolling. Essentially, the bond counsel becomes the quarterback on this submission. We did have a conversation with them. Joe had a conversation with their office, and they've indicated as soon as that's been done, it probably takes about 60 to 90 days. But with that direction tonight, we would work with your director and move to the next position.
Does the loan terms fall under the original or the modified now of 50/50?
Well, the original, as you know, was 75-25. We're
Right.
going to fight to try and keep the same terms because you had the original loan that way. That's the plan. I can't promise that.
So this could modify the original $16 million loan?
No.
Oh, no.
It would just
No,
be
no.
the supplemental that would be impacted?
Supplemental.
The goal will be to try to get the same terms.
Right.
Benefit being there is you're on the same payment plan. I would hope that we could try to roll it in as one debt service payment rather than multiple debt service payments, if possible.
Now, of it, and I was, the packet that I thought here, that was my notes, was actually the packet that Vanessa left for me, with my regular packet that you all got that I didn't think I got. So the reason I'm going through that explanation is my notes for the money that we owed, so I'm just gonna, off the top of my head, I thought when you, I, and Jenny met, it was roughly 500, was it a 500 number or 2-something number that was out of pocket on our end?
I don't recall.
Do either
The
one?
total amount of supplemental is somewhere in $800,000 to $850,000.
Right, okay, so about 5 is yours?
About 550 is costs you already have that have not been.
Yeah,
Right, okay, so,
That
balance
was
would be that.
the notes from Jenny.
right, so of that, is a significant amount. It really is, you know, the number is 552,000 that over this loan, over this project, that the authority incurred, that never got submitted for the loan during its time. So when we started this process, I thought this number was gonna be significantly less, and I probably had it in my head that I thought it was gonna be closer to 200. However, when we ran the numbers with Jen and then verified it with Joe and Mike, you know, I was like, well, given it's this number, it's quite honestly, it's hard for me to sit here and say, well, we had the ability to go for a supplemental loan, like, and not, like, I really can't, you know, I'd have to make the recommendation, we need to move forward on this, and then meeting with Joe and Mike, I wanted to roll in their costs, which was about 300, maybe two something, high 250 or so, to roll that all into one, so that way they could also get reimbursed for the cost that they never submitted to the authority, and then hence never got submitted as the loan.
So what's the total number?
So between the two would be about an 800,
800,
little over,
850.
yeah, slightly over 800.
You're still looking for any of the last bills or any that you have, and I think it just, that's about the range.
Right. So, you know, what, and again, I appreciate Mike and Joe's research on this along with April's and Jen. So we would have to move forward. For us to submit the loan, we'd have to demonstrate that we paid the costs. So we'd have to have the invoices come from CME, pay them, and then through the loan process, get reimbursed 60 to 90 days later.
So the 552,000 we've already paid out?
Yes, so this is going on before, you know, clearly before I came on. These are costs that were incurred from, and this is all post 2013, right? Right, 2013, we started to track it. There were some costs associated with the veterans area, and to be honest, I don't remember that term from when I was a commissioner, so I don't know what work.
Goes back away.
Right, so I didn't attempt to dig that far in the back because Jenny, it was before Jenny arrived, it was before April arrived. Trying to recreate that was just too difficult and figure it all out. So, and quite honestly, this of itself, the fact that through this time with the previous executive director, this money was never submitted, I think it's what we want to do.
What's the current rate on this bond? Do we know?
On the,
Bond? Because it's going out. We're now starting to pay for this bond, right? It's a $16 million bond. Do we know what the rate is?
so I'd have to go in off the top of my head now.
I would say
It's probably like a 2 something,
I'd say 1 and 1.5%.
1 and 1.5, okay.
Because it was roughly 3 on the market, it was cut in half.
If we ever know too much. Right? Because, sorry, I'm trying to just bounce them. If I've ever paid this out, this is already out of the bank. We'd never charge interest on this.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna ask the question. I understand the CME part, but if we've already paid 552,000 out, though, I mean, yes, it'd be nice to have some of that money back, but we'd essentially be now paying interest on $138,000 roughly, even at 1% or 2%, whatever the rate is. Are we gonna be suffering if we don't submit this for 550,000?
So, you know, I would phrase it this way, right? I'd tee it up this way, that if I was in this position on my own personal money in my house, and I had the ability to stretch that out, I would. At that rate, right? We know, given the current financial situation, right, with the Fed cutting, the bond rates they're not moving up. So even if we're paying half, we're talking at most 2%, 2.5%. Like that's cheap money. Like that's a lot of money not to get reimbursed.
Well, it's not the
You,
time. Again,
you spent it, like, and you're not able to recoup it.
Yeah, we still owe that 552, right?
no, I mean, we've paid out the 550, so essentially, we've paid out the 552. So
Yes.
so it'd be 300 plus, the question is 300 or 882, because the 552 has already been figured into our cash balances.
That dollar figure isn't.
So
So we had another
552
250
doesn't,
on top. So that's why the rolled up number is about an 800, just good discussion. It's an 800K.
We may want to see the breakdown of costs.
yeah, can we get more, I mean, is this one of those things that you need an absolute decision? right this very-
No,
okay.
I mean, if we
So-
don't do it, we could push it out another month.
Okay, let's get a breakdown on the costs. I'd like to see what the rate is also on the bond. I'd like a little more information on if it would be at the same rate or at market rate, because to your point, the market's dropped, because the Fed just dropped the rate, so it could potentially be slightly less. But I'd be curious if it would be 50-50 or 75, because that sort of changes the factor also. I mean,
Yeah.
am I missing?
No, you're right.
All right, so yeah, let's get some more information to have for September's meeting, and then we can decide then. 60 to 90 days would still put us before the end of the year, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but we just don't have enough information.
Yeah. And
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be difficult. So you want to understand what the percentage on the loan is?
I want the
Going to
percentage on the
be-
loan. I want the breakdown on what the actual cost, what the actual breakdown on the true costs are. Like the actual.
What does the 552 comprise?
Oh, that ain't, okay. Well, so yes and no. So it actually isn't as easy to, so when we submitted all the costs, when April submitted, as part of what she had done, the cost that we extended, what the iBank came back was says, you're over, we're just gonna allow the max to what you were owed, or to fill out the max of the loan.
The original.
So it's not like they said, this invoice we're paying, this invoice we're paying, no, we're not paying this, we're not paying this.
What's the total? But I want to see the breakdown of what the total amount over $16 million without the CME part is. And then what the
550, I just gave it to you.
I think they're looking for, Brian, is they're looking for the breakdown of where the 552 is.
And that's what I'm trying to explain to you. So, right, we won't have so any breakdown of the 552 is just gonna be creative accounting on my part, or Jenny's, to match that number. The DEP, the iBank didn't get submitted invoices and saying, we're approving this, we're approving this, we're approving this, right? We sent it in and they came back and said, here, we're approving you to the max.
All right, so
Is that your recollection?
I do
So-
recall. They maxed out the
Right, they
amount of the
maxed
loan,
out.
and
So
you
I
can
can
actually
submit to
go-
you costs.
So
I
the
mean, if you
numbers that I'm
really
looking
feel that that's
for.
necessary.
So the numbers
I-
I'm looking for are the 552, which is the excess,
Right,
plus you said the CME,
right.
Plus
You
you-
can provide a breakdown.
Yep, and they can provide
Right.
their breakdown.
plus then you said there's still other stuff that you're finding that might still be outstanding,
No.
or
No,
is,
I round the number up a little bit just in case there wasn't. Remember, so we're commissioning this pumping station, and in the process, if there's anything, I round the number up just in case, okay? So next couple of weeks, you find something else, you include it. If not, then you just go with the
okay,
flat
so
numbers.
I think we want to see those numbers, the current rate on the bond, and then let's try to see if we can get a little more information on if the bond would be extended to the 75-25 or 50-50.
So my guess is at best, you're just gonna get an interpretation from the bond
That's,
that says, here, it's a roll of the dice. And you may get 80% chance you may get it, or 20% chance you may get it, right? No, they're not gonna definitively,
No,
the bond attorney won't be able to definitively tell you that.
They won't definitively tell you anything, but
Correct.
leaving that aside, I think the answer, I think that Aaron should have some pretty decent understanding based on her prior.
And I get that, so I'm on the camp of, forget it. So the answer comes back, it's 50-50.
Then at least the board can make the decision as to whether or not they're going to agree to take the loan.
Right, and I'm trying to understand what would be the roadblock to moving forward on a 50% no interest, 50% market.
I think right now we want more information. So let's put together the information and then we'll
Yep,
discuss this further in September.
okay, got it.
Right?
Hmm? Yeah.
You okay with that plan?
Yeah.
We need more details.
Okay. And if anybody has any questions about this over, then let's put them together and then we can talk, then it can be sent to Brian if we need more information and have everything to make a finalized decision on September.
All right, what, the next item on the agenda is something we've been asked to give, you've been asked to give an opinion on. The DEP is requesting to permit parking at the 6 Mile Run pump station for registered deer hunters. So there is, I forwarded you and Eric the email when I got it. The request came in and say, hey, listen, we need parking spaces for our hunters. We know that you have a handful of parking spaces at one of your pump stations. They would only issue the parking permits to those with registered license, deer hunting licenses. So I said to them that, that would be a decision. I copied you and Will on it because, like, I'm not sure about the liability and whether the board would want to do that.
I think the question was, I think there were questions in there, and I don't recall whether or not, I think we're waiting for answers, weren't we?
No. There's nothing, there was nothing that I was waiting for an answer. It was, I forwarded it on to you two. And tonight, I told them that I would bring it to the board tonight. So basically, it's a request really just to use the parking spaces.
This is for the pump station that, at Meadow, correct?
6 Mile Run.
Well, they said it was 6. I got the
27.
I got the impression it was 6 Mile Run pump station.
Meadow Avenue.
It's for Meadow Avenue,
Yep. So that's the one that,
so there is no parking.
so if I understand correctly, what they want to do is, well, it says in conjunction program with the 6 Mile Run Reservoir site, we are planning on possible hunting. So I think what they want to do is allow people to park in front of it where we want to where the request to abandon the road was and put the gate. They want to allow people to park in front of there is the interpretation that I took. So you're right, there is no parking there. I think they want to allow people to, I'm trying to see where, yeah, it's Meadow Ave.
1 Meadow Ave, we're working in conjunction with Franklin Township to expand our deer management hunting program. We are planning on expanding our huntable area. There is land near the pumping station, be suitable for a small amount of cars to park there, and we're hopeful the Sewerage Authority will grant permission for registered hunters to park there. Brian responded, and I just showed him the email that we had a meeting tonight and that he didn't expect a decision, assuming you are going to ask me for an opinion, so we didn't draft an opinion, but we haven't asked for an opinion. So the issue
Right, I
is...
did actually tell them September they probably
Well,
would get an answer.
I know I'm
to
losing
September.
my mind, but only to a point.
Okay.
So the issue is, if there's no parking at Meadow Avenue, that obviously solves the initial problem. If the answer is there's a desire to allow parking on some land that may not necessarily be parking designated, but could be used for parking on a limited basis, if there is, I don't know.
So anybody that's familiar with Meadow Avenue, it's a dead-end road with our pump station at the very end of that dead-end road. It's a narrow road down a slope. The only parking would be on the grass side
Right.
along the brook. To me, cars get stuck there all the time. There's ruts there all the time. People are illegally dumping. They can't park within the roadway. That blocks our access to the pump station, and we need that at all times. So I don't see it working out personally.
Other
If somebody's
issue-
in a tree hunting deer, and we have an emergency, and we can't get a piece of equipment there, that's a problem.
Well, it's also.
And it's actually Township
safety.
Road. It's actually a Township Road, Meadow Avenue.
Well, so this is where this complexity of 3 points comes in, because remember the request. I think the request was to basically put a gate on that. If I'm,
Just to clarify too, if I may, I
Mhm.
saw the video, I wasn't at the last meeting. It wasn't the authority asking for a gate.
Okay.
Carl came to us and
Okay.
asked, if we put a gate, how is that gonna bother you? I said, well, obviously I need access to get to the pump
Right.
station, so we'll have to do a joining key system or
right,
something, you know.
which, but we still have got this triangle right now of basically the town has the road that they're willing to abandon it for, but allow us to make sure that we have access, basically so that we can put the fence up to prevent people from dumping in front of the pump station. So that's the town side. The state's asking for permission to go in there on a limited, I mean, it's limited amount of people, but we still can't give access unless we put it in, unless we ask the town to put the gate up and just allow it to be open during hunting season or during the phase that the hunters want. But even then, that sort of defeats the purpose of the gate then.
Yeah, I don't know how much sense that's gonna make. Is usually hunting season, if I'm correct, is usually when the leaves and the debris are falling from the trees, and that's what people are dumping.
Well, it's November to February. One of the concerns I have is safety. If we are working there, people are hunting.
Well,
What
that's
kind of
another, that's
liability
another
do we have?
issue. Obviously, yeah, I agree with you
It's
on
a
that.
big issue.
Well, I mean,
So are people
again, I don't
permitted to hunt there right
yeah,
now?
but they're gonna be hunting on those grounds whether there's parking or not.
Right.
Because the hunting is gonna be on what's allowed to be hunted, so all they're saying is they wanna provide access to it, I guess, from a different angle, they asked, so. I agree that there's a safety issue, but that safety issue is a separate variable regardless of parking or not.
Their issue from what I glean is they're expanding their hunting area within the 6 Mile Run Reservoir site,
Right.
which abuts your property. They're not looking to do hunting on the
Right.
Sewage Authority property. What they're
Right.
looking for, however,
Permission to
is
park there.
permission to park so that their people can then go into the DNR canal area and hunt. So the issue becomes obviously liability, indemnity, and related items, if there is even an interest to get to that question. If the authority doesn't feel that the property lends itself to it, then we sort of don't reach the issue of everything else, because the executive director calls up DNR Canal and says, sorry, but I'm not interested. If there is an interest in, then obviously we provide an opinion relative to liability, indemnity, and probably have a few questions for DNR Canal relative to how they're planning on dealing with it.
So,
Because they're
so,
the ones dealing with it.
so let me ask a question. If it is not our road, why are we worried about providing parking to anybody?
Well,
Why?
first of all, I'll defer to Scott, who knows the area better than I, but I'm assuming that the township has no interest in having people parking on, quote, their road, close quote, for any reason whatsoever to begin with, much less hunters, for the same issues that you may end up having to deal with if they park on your property, irrespective of the road. And there's also another issue as to whether or not the township would actually allow you to use the road to allow access for hunters to park on your property, if it's not a public road.
Yeah. Looks like a non-issue to me. If there is no parking place and we don't own the road,
Well, we own
we
the
do
property at
authorize
the end
them.
of it. So that's the thing. We own where it dead ends, we own the property, I believe, right? Because we own the pump station and across the road.
So there,
No,
No?
we only own the parcel that our building sits on.
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. It's not our property. We are not authorized to.
But
No, anyway.
again, knowing the area, to get a piece of equipment in there,
Yeah.
it takes a couple of turns to get inside the gate because of how we're set up on the dead end.
I know where it is.
So if the little piece of somewhat paved area that they may be talking about as parking spots, then we're limited to what we can get in and get out. And I don't think that's gonna work out.
I have no problem saying no. I mean,
Yeah, I have no problem.
I mean,
I think we
ultimately,
should say no.
at this point, okay. So it sounds like the consensus is to say no to this, and
Okay.
yeah, I'm not going to continue that.
I'll copy you on this one. All right, as I reported last month, our office configuration is still in progress. We did have the county shredding day here on July 13th. That went very well. I didn't see any stats from Anne Marie as to how many cars came in. All I can tell you, it was nowhere near the 1,100 we had for hazardous. Like, I was here for about an hour and a half that day, and the amount, like, the flow was a trickle compared to the hazardous waste day. So, Robbie was here. So, yeah, there were no issues, and there was no issues with cleanup or anything like that, right? Yeah.
Alright, so for next year, we're open to hosting again.
Shredding, sure.
What I will say is a big thank you to the DPW. Monday morning, they came around with a street sweeper. There was very minor amounts of paper that got loose, and they did a good job. cleaning up.
Call was here, yeah. Okay,
Scott, though, for hazardous waste, if we're approached again.
So, my opinion's always been, no, I don't want to have it here, but I know how that works. But what I will say is,
We gave him some input. I
he doesn't like that input, that's what he's telling you.
what I can tell you is after several phone calls, emails, back and forth, they finally showed up to clean the park.
Okay, so it's cleaned back to almost.
Correct.
Okay. Right. I have not been approached yet asking for next year, but okay. I'm sure it might come soon because I think they ask now. So
Yeah, they do.
I
They
mean,
usually plan a year in advance.
right. So I mean, if it's huge that you have a okay, smiling face comes up. If it's severe enough that you feel that we shouldn't host it, then we can say we'll host shred but not host waste. If we're willing to give it another shot for waste, then
You know how I feel about it. If you want to,
Okay.
attempt to go at it that way, that's fine. But if it has to be here, then we just.
How come they don't use the
Yeah, I mean, the reason I
Yeah.
would offer to do it again only is because of the impact to the rest of the town. Having it on the municipal complex
right.
is such a major inconvenience to the rest of the town that, yes, it's not that it's convenient for us, and not painless, but relative to the relief that it gives the rest of the town, I think it's worthwhile to do.
Okay. So
Trying to be a good neighbor, that's it.
no, I understand that. So I will for now wait to be approached. I will not.
Right. But if we were to have a discussions, the next time it would be a much stronger conversation of like, listen, we can't go through the cleanup process that
Correct.
we did the multiple times. Like,
Correct.
you need to get it right the first time.
Yep, and we can emphasize that the original agreement was it had to be cleaned up within days, and it took I think 3 or 4 weeks this time around because you included me on the email. So we can emphasize that again, but it could be like this is your last chance. If not, you need to find someplace else. Could be the approach also. So, but your feedback is taken under consideration. Well,
All right.
you gotta come in on Monday too to do your job. So
I get aggravated every time.
Okay, and
every Monday you come
No,
in.
every time we have to have it.
All right. Go ahead.
So
Sorry,
we're
Brad.
gonna start moving forward on some of the approved capital budget items this month. In addition, next month we'll probably come through with the trucks, right, Scott? We'll have it for the specs, so we'll have to work with the ones that are not on state.
I just received it today. If we could get maybe some kind of authorization to go out for bid or put a spec together for Eric to review.
Yeah, for the items that are in the budget, we can already go out.
correct.
We
That
arranged
is.
that the last time.
Yep.
But the purchase, I have to come back to the board. All right, so resolutions tonight, you're gonna see resolutions for all the accounts, payroll account, operating expense, general fund renewal and replacement, North Track, and escrow. Additionally, so do we have a resolution or an amendment for the policy? Okay, so next month we'll have, we're gonna make a change to our policies and procedures for a reduction of competitive quotations to 2 quotes, which is still within legal rights. And then in closing, the only thing is to save the date, November 19th, Tuesday, November 19th, and Wednesday, November 20th is the AEA conference in Atlantic City. If you're gonna plan on attending, please let April know so she can make the proper travel arrangements and hotel arrangements. Naturally, as always, that is booked in with the League of Municipalities. So if you can charge your time and your booking to the township, do that. All right, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, moving on, operations report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the busy month of July of 2019, under our pump stations, during the month at our School Avenue, we had some issues with our totalizer, flow meter totalizer, not operating properly. We brought the distributor in to troubleshoot, who then had to get in touch with the manufacturer, and they wound up performing a factory reset, and the unit is now totalizing correctly. During the month, the guys found some leaky hoses on the block heater for the generator at the Meadow Avenue. That was taken care of by our staff. Stonehenge Pump Station, the crew replaced the faulty level float control, float ball controller. That was done by our staff. Weston Canal, I gave somewhat of a detailed readout of what we occurred during the month over at Weston Canal during this emergency project. Brian touched on it pretty good. I'm not going to get into it, I guess, in too much detail because it's here for you guys to read. What I will say is that we, the day of the switchover, which was Thursday, August 1st, we contacted MCUA, Middlesex County Utilities Authority, who receives our flow, and we asked them to implement the emergency discharge limitation plan. And what that does is they send out basically an email alert to the industrial facilities that have heavy flow discharges and ask them to cut their flow back basically, and they have to comply. Okay, so being good neighbors, we gave them plenty of time. We asked them to limit their flow first thing in the morning and have it done by sometime around noon, 1 o'clock, and we brought the cut over later on that afternoon into the early evening. It really worked out great. It gave us the holding time that we needed to do what we had to do. So that worked out great. I think it worked really well with MCUA as far as that goes. Right now, where we are with the Weston Canal project is the past 2 days we worked on all the flushing and cleaning, vacuuming of all the bypass system that was out, about 1,600 feet of bypass line out. It's been a task, but we had a plan from day one, and it's really worked well. I can happily say everything's broken down and ready for pickup. It's been washed and ready for pickup, and that'll happen on this Friday down at the station on Western Canal Road.
So Scott, I want to say a word about that emergency. I think you deserve a lot of credit for getting this organized and accomplished, especially that there are no accidents. That's a big deal. It's a very big deal to an emergency, including the contractor's accidents. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Like I said to Brian every time we spoke, there was just constant moving parts. There was always something for someone to do so that everybody else could keep working. So during the day, our tasks were for FTSA and our general contractor, Lucas Construction Group, to basically prep everything for the lining guys, the lining company who was working in the evenings and through the night. So, it was prepping holes, prepping pits, building this, building that to make everything work. Kudos to everybody in the crew. Everybody worked good, worked well together. It was a team effort, true team effort. Under our developer and inspection related issues, our guys performed some COs for some final inspection COs for different properties. We performed inspection work for the township's road paving projects going on related to the manhole work going on. As we've been talking about, we were very involved with the coordinating inspection of the work being done on Weston Canal. One of the things that Brian had brought up, we did do all the post video with our own CCTV equipment. It just made sense couldn't see paying a guy $3,000 a day, $3,300 a day was their daily rate, to come out and do that same work that we could do. So we did do that. There were no odor complaints for the month reported to us. Under our collection systems, during the month, our staff flushed and cleaned 28,332 feet of main sewer line as part of the ongoing preventive maintenance program. The current estimate from January of 2019 to present is about 23%, which I feel we're just slightly under where we should be, and due in part the past 2 months we've been very busy with Weston Canal, and we'll get that back. I'm not worried about that. The staff has completed the easements cutting that was probably reported last month. That was cut for the first time for the season. Our crew's been doing assisting Christian and Andre in gathering that information for the pump station capacities study that they're doing. I believe we have a couple of corrections that need to be made tomorrow morning, which we'll take care of first thing. Under complaints, we had one resident complaint for slow draining sewer. What we found was it was an internal issue. We advised them to contact a licensed plumber. We had some good storms this past month, which resulted in some city power failures. One of them being in the Weston Canal area. They had power lines go down on campus in Howard. They were down for almost 2 days because PSE&G said it wasn't important at that time, that the sewer pump station was running on backup generator. So another obstacle we dealt with over there at good old Weston Canal was we were running a backup generator for about 38 hours. So our guys monitored the fuel.
Okay, so it's diesel?
Yes.
Okay.
So and everything was fine. Everything operated like it was supposed to. Under our safety and training, there were no accidents or injuries for the month of July. Our staff was given training at the Somerset Street pump station for all the equipment that's involved. I know the station's not online yet, but that training obviously comes first before the station goes online. That's all been performed. The 16th of the month, we had a nice visit early in the morning by POSHA, the Public Employees Occupational Safety Health Act. They showed up around 8 a.m. and they performed what they call an unannounced spot inspection. And basically of the facility and the different programs that are here for safety. It was a full day. We concluded about 4 p.m. I think that day. You know, it was just a bad month for it to happen. But anyway, with that said, so during the visit, there was a lot of discussions about different programs and stuff like that. They did a detailed walkthrough of our maintenance facility. He asked to go out to the pump stations. The day was getting so long, he only went to 2 sites. He has cited us for some minor infractions, and I have to say I have made it a priority to correct and have done so. We're actually right now about 98% complete. They really are some minor stuff, and some of the things that he told me he was going to cite us on, we just received the report, I think it was yesterday. They're not even in the report. They're more so some of, a fire safety plan for the facilities on basically where we would meet if there was a fire within the building. There was never a plan here, so I had to make an action plan. What's good about some of that is the JIF, right? So we're part of the JIF. They have templates to assist these authorities in putting these programs together. So on the 18th, I had the JIF here. That was a scheduled inspection. Okay, we had Brian Maitland was here on behalf of J.A. Montgomery Risk Control. Once I told him we just had 2 days prior, we had the POSHA guy here. He's like, oh, well, my job is pretty much done, because he probably did a thorough inspection. But I told him what he was going to cite us on, and we talked about the different programs. He forwarded over to me the templates, and basically we just, had to input our own practices and names to those.
Okay.
All right. During that same visit from the JIF, we did receive our 2018 Lost Time Accident-Free plaque.
Great.
Good job.
Under our connections for the month, there was a total of 17. There's a total to date of 19 from June 1. Anticipated for the fiscal year is 372. That's it.
And for that connection fee, you have your report. the itemized report in the packet.
I will add something to.
Sure.
I just wanted to add something to the Peosha spot visit that we had. The authority is expected to have these forms on file for you have to have a 5-year history. It's like your Form 300, 301, 301A. And I just want to let you know that we had all of those forms readily available when he asked for them, when I met with him. Everything was posted in the timely manner when it was supposed to be posted, and we were cleared for all of those documents. So everything went well.
Right, any questions for Scott? All right, committee reports, negotiations and personnel. Prepare that, you sent that over today, so.
Yes, I did, and hopefully it can be executed by all parties and we can move on.
Okay, so, that was taken care of. Municipal liaison, we talked about, Meadow, so that might come up at my next DPW meeting, so. Alright, construction, I don't think you have any answers. Okay, and safety, we're accident free again, so let's keep it up. Okay. Alright, onto the consent agenda. The approval of the resolution should be done by consent agenda. All the items listed below are considered to be of routine nature, thereby requiring one motion and 1 second for all items. If any member wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda or has questions about it, please advise me at this time which resolution we either need to pull or need to discuss. Payroll account, $172,542.75. Operating expense account is $2,804,201.34. General fund of $15,922. Renewal and replacement, $145,187.68. North Track crossing of $5,220.08, and escrow of $500. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? Okay, roll call please.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Mr. Jallo?
Yes.
Mr. Tewari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes. We're still signing those. The additional items that's for next meeting, okay. Do we need an executive session tonight?
2 to 3 hours at least. No executive session.
No executive session.
All right. We don't have any action items from last meeting. Oh, I know I was forgetting something. I got it, I remembered. All right. So, unfortunately, one of our commissioners will be leaving us after tonight's meeting. So, while I wish you were staying with us longer, I understand your decision. So, we would like to present you with this plaque for your years of service. Yes, it's like this. So, Mr. Jallo, thank you very much for your guidance, your wisdom.
I see $100 million I'm going to spend.
What is that?
And remember, your pension is all of, sorry, $0.
All that hard work you did?
And all that hard work.
If I might say thank you. Thanks for everybody. It's been a very pleasant experience. Everybody's very helpful. Although Mr. Bernstein picks on me sometimes. But that's okay. And I really, I'm leaving with a heavy heart, but I didn't want to burden the authority for being absent. I was absent for 6 months. To be absent again another 6 months, I think it would be unfair. And I hope when I come back crawling for a job, you'll accept me.
Good luck. Safe travels. I know you'll be traveling a fair amount, so
Yeah.
have safe travels. All right. Anybody else?
Sure.
All right. Does anybody actually want to go home on this lovely summer night? Oh, I know it's a little rainy, but all right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. I guess all those in favor of ending this meeting at a
What are you
decent
doing?
hour, say aye.
Building it.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, that's right,
Anybody
I can't-
opposed? Alright, I got 7:53.
7:53.